Hi everybody and welcome to another watercolor tutorial painting. Today we are going to be getting into the late summer vibe and we're going to be painting a harvest season painting. So get your materials and let's get started. So the first thing I did is I taped the borders of my piece of paper with scotch tape, and I also wanted to create a sun out of scotch tape. So I just overlapped 2 or 3 pieces of scotch tape and I cut them out in the shape of a circle, and then I pasted that right where I wanted my sun to be. And this is a great alternative for people who don't have that fancy stuff called masking fluid. I think that's what it's called, where you paint it on and then you paint your painting and then you can kind of peel it off after to reveal the white piece of paper underneath. I don't have masking fluid, so this was a good alternative for me, so just a little tip there. But once you're happy with all that, you can go ahead and paint on your first layer as you just saw me do. So I took a mop brush and heavily watered down yellow watercolor and just covered the entire painting with a layer of yellow, making sure to make the bottom portion of the painting a little bit darker. And while that layer is still wet, you want to paint on some sort of foliage or some sort of plant material that resembles, this kind of looks like wheat to me. So because we're painting it on when it's still wet, it allows that watercolor to blend in and bleed out into the background layer, so it makes it look like the plants are really far away because they're super washed out. So you can paint on as many as you would like, and then once that layer has completely dried, you want to paint on a second layer, but again, just make sure your background is completely dry before adding the second layer, or you'll ruin your first layer if it's not completely dry. So I went ahead and covered it again with another layer using my mop brush, and this time we're going to be adding some more details and features, especially darker features. So I took a little bit of brown watercolor mixed in with my yellow, and I just darkened that bottom portion of the painting. I also wanted to add some cloudy features near the top and center of my painting, so I added brown mixed with a little bit of black, and just spread those pigments out throughout the painting. I also darkened my original background plants because they kind of faded a little bit too much, so you can add as many as you would like. Here I'm adding another one, and I don't really know what plant this is, but it looks very late summer, almost autumny. By the way, if you are enjoying this, I encourage you to like this video because it helps me grow my channel, and also consider subscribing because I do release 2 tutorials every single week. Once that layer has completely dried, you can go ahead and peel off that piece of tape to reveal our sun. And the reason why you want to do this now is because the features that we're going to be painting on now are going to overlap over the sun, because we want to make them look like they are a lot closer to the viewer than those faded out background plants that we painted earlier when the background was still wet. So here you're going to be taking a solid black watercolor that has just enough water to allow it to actually spread and apply onto the paper, but we do want it to be very dark so that it looks like it's close to the viewer. And here you can paint on more of the types of plants that we painted in the background, and you can also add these long and wide blades of grass as well. It just adds another layer of complexity, but it's quite simple. It's a lot easier if you have the appropriate tools for this painting. So if you have a really thin brush, it really helps you achieve those delicate blades of grass. So here I'm using a quadruple zero Winsor & Newton brush, which I have linked in the description if you want to purchase one. And I mean, this look definitely is achievable with a thicker round brush. I love round brushes because of their versatility. They have a very fine point at the end, but in order to achieve this look, you have to have a very steady hand with those thicker round brushes. Otherwise, you know, the volume from the bristles towards the top of the brush will thicken your strokes. Here you can see I am overlapping some of my blades of grass over the sun. It just, you know, adds another element to the painting and makes the blades of grass look like they're really close to the viewer, as I mentioned earlier. Now, if I could go back, I probably wouldn't add as many plants as I did because I wanted this painting to look more delicate, and the more that I added, the more crowded it looked, which isn't necessarily a bad thing, but it's just not really the look I was going for. Once you're finished, peel off your tape and you are all finished. Thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to subscribe, like this video, and I'll see you in next week's tutorial.